104.7 FM.
Where are we?
Well, that's just down the street. Or you can see our wonderful guest, Nick Hutson, in Moving Pictures out there on all the video streaming things. Just go to Facebook and our Pass the Hat page, and the link will be there to the video. And Nick, welcome back.
Thank you.
Been a while.
Yeah.
But you've been a busy man.
I have. It's the first time I've been here by myself.
Yeah.
You have been in the studio multiple times.
That's no way.
Yeah.
No way to talk about your companion.
Well, they're off camera.
Oh well, it is great to have you, and we've tended to having small acts now in the last 2 years instead of the large entourage we used to have in here. But it's great to have you. We want to hear all about your creative output here in a minute, but we'd like to just jump in and have you start with a song. Anything you'd like to play, we'd love to hear.
All right. I'm going to start with a song called Borderland, and I can tell a little bit about it beforehand, or I can sing it, and then,
it's your show. You can do whatever you
want to.
want to.
Intro would be nice.
I think it probably makes sense to give a little intro. So, Borderland. So, I was raised in Tennessee, grew up in Tennessee, obviously now live in North Carolina, and I always say that I sort of feel the pull from both sides of the mountain because I love my home in Tennessee and miss my family there, but I really like North Carolina as well. So someone had a picture. I saw a picture of the border between Tennessee and North Carolina, and I said, "Oh, I feel like my soul just sort of lives right there, sort of stuck between the two." And quickly, I thought that's a great song, so I wrote it.
Excellent.
Yeah. So this is Borderland. Looking out my window through stained glass daffodils, chasing the westering sun. On the run, I'm going home. Climbing up the mountain with a suitcase in my hand, racing up then falling down on the ground where I started from. There's everything and nothing waiting there for me, up where the Pisgah meets the Cherokee. In the borderland, that's where I'll be. In the borderland, my soul is free. From the top of the borderland, you can see the world below. The road is rough, the lay is steep. The roots are deep on the other side. Trying to move ahead, but I'm always looking back. Stuck in the middle somewhere in the air, in the borderland. There's everything and nothing waiting there for me, up where the Pisgah meets the Cherokee. In the borderland, that's where I'll be. In the borderland, my soul is free. Everything and nothing waiting there for me, up where the Pisgah meets the Cherokee. In the borderland, that's where I'll be. In the borderland, my soul is free, oh yeah. In the borderland, my soul is free.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And another fine start to an hour of live music here on Pass the Hat.
Everybody, we're here with Nick Hutson. Nick, I was admiring your guitar, both how it looks and how it sounds. Tell us a little bit about that.
This is it's a Martin guitar. I can never remember the make. It's a dreadnought, bodied guitar.
And it's been around a while.
It's beat up for one that's only, like 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah, that's a while. You can tell from the new guitars versus ones that have been played in, as yours has, because you're playing all the time. As it sounds really nice.
This great. One, I have to confess, I was drawn to first how it looks, and
that's totally okay.
Down. Yeah, I love dark guitars. I love these.
It has a nice sunburst on it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But we get kind of two different spectrums of guitar players here in the studio. Sometimes Kirk asks that question, and people will go into a 20-minute soliloquy of the provenance of this guitar and the exact bindings and where the tuning pegs came from and what the serial number is. They just have it on the top of their head, and you can tell that they're really focused on gear. And then we have other folks who are very much like you. It's like, yeah, I think it's Martin. Yeah, oh yeah, look on the headstock, it says Martin.
Well, those first people lose out on about playing 5 songs because they blather
while they're
on
talking. Yes,
because we only have so much time. Well, Nick, it's apparently been a productive time for you. Some people in the last couple of years have sort of hit the wall and had difficulty, or every song they write's about, COVID, but it sounds like with you, because we're going to talk about that you have a new release coming out, and so all these songs on this upcoming release, are they ones you've written recently or pulled from the archives?
It's a combination of the two. There's some that I wrote. I haven't been writing songs that long, so none of them are very old because I just haven't been doing it very long. So at most, 4 or 5 years. But some of them are more recent during COVID, but I'd say they're sort of spread out.
Now we know that you're with a fine band, Fair to Midland, and
love those guys.
Did they participate in the recording?
Some of them did. All of them did, in that some of the songs that are on there are part of the Fair to Midland set list, and so they helped me, kind of hone the songs. Susan Johnson and Matt Velke sang on the album, and Jim Suter also. The three of them sang. The other members, John Krall and Lynn Swisher Spears, who was on here fairly recently. They're not on the CD, but they influenced the music.
Sure.
Yeah.
And where did we record this?
This was recorded at F.J. Ventry's studio, Good Luck Studio in Chapel Hill.
Good. And was John Shane was involved in?
John Shane was there every day, yeah.
They do really great work over there.
They do great work.
We are lucky to have them in our community.
And if you've never done it, they're so much fun in the studio because they've known one another since, I don't know,
forever.
School. Yeah, forever. Yeah. And so they're constantly busting one another's chops.
And they've played together for many years. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that recording process here in a minute, but we're mainly here to enjoy as much of your fine music as we can. So what do you have for us next?
So a lot of the songs, the CD actually is called I'm Going Home, and so a lot of the songs are related to my home in Tennessee, or in some way to family and history in Tennessee. This song is called Decoration Day, and it's probably a familiar thing to a lot of people, especially in the rural South, to have Decoration Day, where you visit the cemetery of loved ones. And so this tells the story of once a year we always travel to the cemetery where my paternal grandfather was buried, and other family on my father's side. The interesting thing was my father, even though we always went every year, my father never talked about his father. So later, when you're a kid, you don't think anything of that. It's just, But then later on, when I was writing this song, it sort of occurred to me that, he never talked about his father.
There's a story there somewhere.
There's got to be a story, yeah. So it's called Decoration Day. Once a year we made a journey to the place my father grew, and paid a visit to a man I never knew. We made the drive down to the river, always in the month of May, to honor those who've gone before us, Decoration Day. And all the time I wondered what it was he would not say about the man he'd come to see on Decoration Day. In the church we heard a preacher of God's grace he did extol, shouted out with fire and brimstone, come to me and save your soul. We listened to the gospel message and we sang I'll Fly Away, with cardboard thins in simple rhythm, Decoration Day. And all the time I wondered what it was he would not say about the man he'd come to see on Decoration Day. We made our way out through the churchyard among the stones and grave. You walk among the dead, my son, mind you don't step on their grave. Laid our wreath, paid our respects, but I never heard him say any word about his father, Decoration Day. And all the time I wondered what it was he would not say about the man he'd come to see on Decoration Day.
Nick Hutson, live here on Pass the Hat. I grew up in a small community just a little bit south of here, southwest of here. We didn't have Decoration Day, but we had Homecoming, which was essentially the same thing.
Yeah. The church that I attended had a homecoming. There was not a cemetery directly associated with that church, so they had homecoming. The churches that have cemeteries typically would have Decoration Day, and I think it was an opportunity to kind of put flowers down, but also to kind of clean up, spruce up the cemetery. So it's kind of a nice tradition.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah, that's what our homecoming was. Mowing and weed eating and flowers all throughout the cemetery during the day, and then when the afternoon came along, it was a big potluck dinner where everyone got
Sounds
together.
Very familiar. Yep.
Well, Nick, this new release, I'm Going Home, did John Shane actually produce it?
John Shane produced it. I've known him for a really long time, so he really, I think, knew the type of music that I wanted to put out, and I was really thankful for that, because he channeled a lot of great ideas that I think were really very consistent with kind of my vision of the music.
John is tremendously talented and experienced as a producer, and as well as being a fine guitar player. And so for the people who don't know, walk us through just quickly what a producer does. And so you have these songs. You decide you want to record them. You get together with John, and then it's and he's never heard them before. A lot of them probably. And so what happens then?
So we got together, I take guitar lessons from him, so it was kind of easy every other week or so we got together and talked through the songs and kind of went through an arrangement and, who we thought would be good to be on the CD singing or instrumentalist. And so we did that over a time period and then several months, and then you got to book the studio time as well. So we did that, and then spent some time kind of practicing some of the things that we wanted to do, and then so that's before you ever walk into the studio. And then when you walk in the studio, FJ is making sure that the recording is going right, but John's there listening and sometimes coming up with ideas on the fly of how we can, improve something, or very often it's, let's do that again.
And so it's John puts things together like a puzzle most of the time in the studio. That's his approach. It's been a very successful one for him. And so you started just with you and the guitar and you're like a scratch vocal, they call it, that then you go back. And is that how it worked for you?
That is how it worked. We did that, the scratch, to get the timing down, and so that other people could hear it, and that we're going to lay down accompanying tracks.
And was there a click also in the background? Oftentimes people use that.
I like that. Some people don't, but I found, because I had practiced a lot beforehand using a metronome, so I'd gotten used to having that click, and I could just sort of tune it out. But it's nice to get yourself, accustomed to having that.
You can find with your songs that one day you'll play it and it's like it's perfect, and then another day you can't quite find the tempo you were, and so having that click is locks you in, I think.
Yeah. I resisted for a long time practicing with a metronome because I didn't particularly like it. I encourage everyone to practice with a metronome. It's really, really good.
Well, it doesn't have to be real loud. It can just be soft.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
To my non-musician's ears, that just sounds like the nun, slapping your hand with the ruler.
But it's a real nice nun and a real comfortable ruler.
All right.
She's just helping you out.
Everybody, we are here with Nick Hutson, sharing his new music and talking about his upcoming release. And you can go out to Nick's website and keep track of when this release hits all the streaming services. Nick Hutson, HUTSON.net. And you'll see what Nick looks like, or you can actually just turn on the video right now.
You can watch the live stream right now.
Sure.
At WHUP Pass the Hat, at WHUP Pass the Hat, on all of the cool streaming services, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Any others? No, that's the ones we're using, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
And the videos are archived on two of those services for a long time.
Forever.
Until the Russians invade.
Okay, next week.
And so you can enjoy this 24/7 whenever you on demand.
And we would like to enjoy a little bit more of Nick's music.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Let's see, what do I have next? Not that one.
By the way, lots of folks are chiming in on the live stream saying hi from Pick and Bow.
Yeah. So tonight is the first night of Pick and Bow.
Yes.
It's all weekend, and so John.
Oh, is John over there again?
Yeah, he's one of the organizers.
Well, we've heard from Matt, who says John says hi, and Lynn Spears is over there, and
I think Leah Kaufman's there.
And Leah,
probably about
yes.
everybody we know. Everybody Pick and Bow is now probably been going for 10 years or so. Danny Gotham is the main coordinator, just a fabulous guitar player, and John Shane's been over there and still at the Murphy School, I guess.
Still at the Murphy School, and this year there's Joe Newberry is there, Alice Gerard is there, Catherine Alderman, Julie Elkins. It's kind of a who's who of local musicians and instructors.
Yeah, the instructor show tomorrow night is just going to be lit, and then you have the the guest or the student show on Sunday. It's just going to be a great weekend of music.
Yeah. The cool thing is, since we're talking about this, several of those are played on the CD, and like Joe Newberry and Julie Elkins and several others. And it just kind of blew me away that we have people of that caliber around, and that they were willing to.
That is the amazingly collaborative music scene we have going on here in the Piedmont of North Carolina.
Oh yeah, it's special.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. This is a song. It is about the. This is. I saw something one day. I don't know if it was on. I don't really remember where I saw it, but it was a tractor. The guy was on a tractor, and it had this cab, and it was air conditioned, and it had probably Wi-Fi, and I mean it had the whole. It was really. And I grew up on a farm.
I wish I had a yuppie tractor.
I grew up on a farm, and what I thought was, back when I was a kid, of course there were no cell phones at that point, and so you couldn't stick your iPods in or whatever, and so you're out in the field, plowing a field, and it's just you and your thoughts, and so there's something very sort of calming about plowing a field, because you're just sort of going back and forth. It's a little bit like maybe raking sand, I guess, sort of.
Bob can relate to that, and so can I. We both have tractors.
Yep.
And back in those days, you were allowed to fix your own tractor. And nowadays...
Oh, don't get political on us, Kurt.
With the electronics...
Nick's getting ready to play us a song.
Well, his song's about the good old days.
Yeah. So this is a song, the Forked Deer River, and it's pronounced Forked Deer River, spreads out all across West Tennessee. And so I read something one time when I was sort of thinking about this song, and it said, the bottomland is very fertile, so you don't have to plow it so deep. And I liked that concept of you don't have to plow so deep because it's fertile, and it sort of occurred to me that I sort of tied it all together. I liked that concept of you don't have to dig so deep.
Yeah, there's a good metaphor there.
There's a good metaphor there. So that's sort of where this song came from. But it's all about sort of the calmness and of sitting on a tractor and plowing a field. So yeah, it's called the Forked Deer River Bottom. In the springtime of my years on that old red IH, Daddy sent me there. That old machine, it ripped and roared, filled the air with its god-awful noise. It was the silence that always cradled me. The Forked Deer River bottom was a good place to be. Surrounded by mighty oaks and giant hickories reaching for the sky, rising up like a fortress round the field, like the walls of Jericho, closing off the world outside. The Forked Deer River bottom was a good place to hide. Oh, 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 oh. Don't cry so hard, boy, you'll just go round and round. You don't have to dig so deep, you're on fertile ground. Black diesel smoke poured out the pipe with the rain cap flapping up and down in time. I filled my head with worries, with thoughts of things I didn't understand. Nothing I could write with pen and ink. Forked Deer River bottom was a good place to think. Back and forth across the field, it hypnotized and mesmerized my mind. And in my head I went to places I had never been before. Things are not always as it seemed. Forked Deer River bottom was a good place to dream. Oh, 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 oh. Don't try so hard, boy, you'll just go round and round. You don't have to dig so deep, you're on fertile ground. Oh, 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 oh.
Hey. Forkadere River.
Forkadere River, yes.
I need to see this place just for the sign. That just sounds fantastic.
Oh, it's, you know, you see signs all over West Tennessee because it's a forked river, and so it sort of spreads out.
So it's all over the place.
Yeah, all over the place. Yeah.
And by the way, Julie Elkins says hi. And you mentioned as we just started off this live session of the show that you had only been writing songs for a few years. Why? That was my flippant question. The real question is, what made you want to write music? How did that happen?
Yeah, so I would say in my 30s, I sort of felt bad because I thought I've reached this point in my life and I don't play a musical instrument. I don't speak a foreign language. I have missed all those opportunities, to better myself.
At the ripe old age of 30.
Yep, it's done.
And so I got a mandolin to play, and I kind of played around with it, learned some chords and all, and then parenting and career kind of
life
took over, and I sort of put it aside, and then I got a guitar and started playing with taking lessons with John Shane, and you start to build. You learn a few chords, and then you think, well, maybe I can play a few songs, and then
so it's like heroin, basically.
Yeah, it's a total gateway.
First one's free.
It's a total gateway to then now I'm have a CD. So
so you just had this kind of gut feeling that you were supposed to be doing something artistic and doing something musical.
I don't know that I would say it like that. I think all along I've sort of second guessed myself. It's never been that I've felt that I should be doing something like that. It's more that I try it and assume that I'm gonna fail, and then
you're human.
Then people come up and say, "Wow, I really like your voice," or "I really like that song. That was a really good song." And there's a song on here. It's called "Maybe" Santa Fe, and Isabel Valls and I. It's a duet.
Nice.
Yeah, she's pretty wonderful. Yeah. We did at Pick and Bow several years ago. We did a song swap, and what we did was we had names in a hat. You drew names, and whoever's name you did, you covered one of their songs, and it was really an interesting process. And
that would terrify me.
It would terrify you trying to learn somebody else's song with all these fancy chords and stuff.
Well, the thing is, you get to interpret it the way you want to do it. Okay. And so Isabel drew my name, and she did that song, Maybe Santa Fe. And I will say that it's the first time that I felt really validated as a songwriter, because It was she did such a beautiful job with it that I thought, wow, I wrote that, and it sounds great.
Yeah.
So that was...
Just about anything Isabel does sounds great, that's for sure.
So
everybody,
yeah.
We are at the top of the hour and really enjoying our time here with Nick Hutson tremendously. And we are encumbered by the Supreme Court of the United States of America to say, or some authorities out there, WHUP LP Hillsborough.
And I keep looking over my shoulder because he's going to walk in any moment now. But we do have a sponsor for the second hour of the show, and that is Matthew's Chocolates. Support for the second hour of Pass the Hat is sweetly provided by Matthew's Chocolates, 104 North Churton Street, Hillsborough, North Carolina, the finest in chocolate and chocolate accessories you can find anywhere. Everything is artistically crafted, wonderfully curated, the finest ingredients. You will seriously enjoy it, and Matthew makes a custom-made 1-pound chocolate bar for every guest that shows up here on Pass the Hat, and it is so fresh that he delivers it during the guest's appearance here, and he's not here yet.
Your quality of guests must have gone up since you started that. People are just, clamoring to...
Oh, we have people asking to be guests just to get the chocolate bar. They don't really care about us.
Right.
But anyway, dear listener, you are here with us and Nick Hutson live in the studio. He's going to play us some more of his wonderful music.
Yeah, this is a song that a friend of mine, Jim Pickrell, he told me that he said, I've been trying to write this song and I just can't do it, and it's not there. So he said, I'm giving it to you. And the idea was he said that he didn't particularly care where he was buried or what even happened to him after he passes on, and he said, just throw me off the side of
I'm done.
I'm done.
I'm not using that anymore.
Yeah, and but he said, but then he took a trip to his hometown in Maryland, and he sort of walked around the cemetery where he had grown up, and he felt this sense of calmness with recognizing names on on the stones and
Sure.
and all, and it sort of took so he decided, I do know what I want. I want to go back there. So I've just explained the entire song, but it's called Take Me Back, and it's really Jim's story, and I appreciate him allowing me to do it. And this on the CD, we did it really bluegrassy. I can't really do that without the banjo and the fiddle and everything, but it was fun to do in bluegrass style. I've been thinking about my life and all the things I've done, and all the places I have lived. I've moved all around from town to town, never looking back. I took a trip back up to my old hometown, and I walked alone in the graveyard there. All those names on the stones, the families I have known, it took me back. Take me back to where tobacco fields rolled on for miles and miles. My cousins fished the river, everybody smiled. Take me back to where St. Peter will surely find my weary soul. Lay me down in my hometown, oh, lay me down. The Middletons were laid down in a family plot. They had land and a house for the kids, and the undertaker heart took the best spot in the front. It took me back. Young Philip was my best friend all those years ago. He lost his mother when he was just a boy. I saw her laid to rest, now Philip sleeps abreast. Take me back to where tobacco fields rolled on for miles and miles. My cousins fished the river, everybody smiled. Take me back to where St. Peter will surely find my weary soul. Lay me down in my hometown, oh, lay me down. about my life and all the things I've done, and what's to become of me. It's my last request, lay me there to rest, please take me back. Take me back to where tobacco fields rolled on for miles and miles. My cousins fished the river, everybody smiled. And I know that St. Peter's gonna find my weary soul. If you lay me down in my hometown, yes, lay me down in my hometown. Please lay me down in my hometown. Oh, lay me down. Thank you.
Nick Hutson. Nick, thinking about this new record that is going to be coming out, I heard a rumor earlier this evening, sometime in September.
September, yes.
I'm going home. And
Yeah.
are all the tracks completed, recorded?
Oh yeah, I have physical copies of the CD. So if anybody wants to let me know, I can.
I do.
I can get you. Yeah, I can get you a copy. It'll be available on streaming services and available to DJs in September.
And how many tracks?
There are 13 tracks. There is the second track is actually a really short spoken introduction recording of my grandmother, which is it kind of when I heard this recording of my grandmother, she was talking about my grandfather who passed away before I was born, but it was just, I don't know, it was so sweet. And
The same grandfather that was on the song, or the other grandfather?
another grandfather.
Yes.
Yeah. And she says, like, he was so good to her, he couldn't have been better, kind of, sweetness. And I was in a my cousin recorded her, and he found these old recordings of her, and so he sent them around. And I was in Firestone waiting to have new tires put on my car, and so I'm listening to this, and when she started talking about that, I just sort of broke down and said, okay, I have to stop.
Did it feel weird just sitting there in the Firestone lobby weeping?
It
Because
felt
that's
and
what I
looked
would have been
weird.
doing.
Oh, it's what a treasure, though.
Yeah, so it sort of inspired the song that came after that, and so I mentioned that to John, and he said, let's put it on there. So,
Good call.
yeah.
Well, as you and John were putting these a very ambitious project together, it must have been a thrill, because John knows all these people, and you've mentioned Joe Newberry and some others, and so every day or two when you're hooking up with John, there's a new surprise, like Christmas every couple of days with. Because when it starts to come together and John plays his guitars and different instruments, and FJ played wonderful bass. Yep. I mean, so was it just a thrill to keep hearing these tracks with new people on them?
It is an amazing process, because you hear it at its lowest level, which is the scratch, which you don't actually use, but that's, you sort of throw that together, and then you do the guitar and get that down, and then you add some vocals, and then you start adding other stuff, and it just becomes richer and richer and richer, and then and then FJ does his magic with the mixing and stuff, and it's kind of amazing, and then you send it for mastering, and you think it can't get better, but actually it gets better, and it's a real magical process.
The mastering really brings everything to life,
Yeah.
and equalizes all the tracks and everything. It's
Right.
a process in itself. Well, terrific. Really enjoying hearing about this. We can't wait to listen to the real CD a month or so from now. We are a radio show, so you said you're going to send it out to radio shows. So we
In
qualify
September,
by-
I heard.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what we heard.
Early September.
But we don't have to wait to hear these songs till then, because you're going to play some more for us, I hope.
I will, yes. Let me get myself situated here. This song I specifically intended to play because I thought Kim was going to be here. And I watched her show last week.
That was fun, wasn't it?
It was really fun.
And Kim is listening at home, so you can speak to her right now.
Well, then that makes this really good. First of all, I'll say I really like my Hoka running shoes, so that's.
She's a big fan of Hoka shoes.
She was disparaging them last week. So she had a song where she mentioned Mary Magdalene last week, and I have a song, Mary Magdalene. Mine is about we went just before the pandemic. We took a trip to Florence, Italy, and there's a lot of art in Florence, but there was one sculpture that I saw that just really profoundly impacted me. It was a wooden carving of Mary Magdalene called the Penitent Magdalene I'm not sure. It's the museum that's attached to the Duomo, which is the large cathedral there, and it's Donatello is the artist from 1400s, and you can Google and see what it looks like. But
also a mutant ninja turtle. Sorry, I have kids of a certain age. I should not interrupt.
I have kids of that same age, yes, or a kid of that same age. Anyway, the look on this sculpture was it just really bothered me. Like that night, I kept thinking about it, and so I wrote a song about the Penitent Magdalene, and it's about the statue that. And luckily, we were in Italy in February of 2020, completely oblivious of the fact that the world was about to change.
You had like 3 weeks.
We had a great time, completely blissful, unaware of what was about to happen. So anyway, this is called the Penitent Magdalene. In a city full of beauty, you caught me by surprise. Frail old beggar woman with anguish in your eyes. Your white poplar skin weathered brown by oxygen. You're penitent, remorseful, but I do not know your sin. Old woman, why do you look at me? You look at me that way. Your haggard eyes beg and plead, what do you want to say? Old woman, what are you begging for? Is there something you see? Don't ask me for forgiveness, you're closer to God than me. Your heart-rending gaze, your long and stringy hair, eyes that beg forgiveness, hands in mournful prayer. Though you're ever contrite, no solace you can find. What are your sins? They can't be worse than mine. Old woman, why do you look at me? You look at me that way. Your haggard eyes beg and plead, what do you want to say? Old woman, what are you begging for? Is there something you see? Don't ask me for forgiveness, you're closer to God than me. All those stories that they've told, we know now they're not true. But still you atone for sins you never knew. Or maybe I'm wrong and there's something I don't see. I look at you with pity, perhaps you pity me. Old woman, why do you look at me? You look at me that way. Your haggard eyes beg and plead, what do you want to say? Old woman, what are you begging for? Is there something you know? Don't ask me for forgiveness, just pray for my soul. Don't ask me for forgiveness, just pray for my soul.
Okay, more Nick Hutson live here on Pass the Hat. Nick, I think we asked you a few minutes ago, why do you write songs? And you already answered, so don't answer that question again because we get confused. But my question now is, how do you write songs?
How do I write songs? I think everyone seems to be a little bit different.
Oh, yeah. That's why we asked this question.
No, every song.
Oh, okay.
Not every person. For me, every song is a little different. More often than not, I will have sort of I don't know, a chorus or some sort of line that I really like, and I'll sort of noodle on that. Mostly in my head. I'm really bad about writing stuff down, so I've probably lost a lot of songs that maybe would have been big, successful hits.
Oh, but you seem to, at least the few things that I remember, Forked Deer Creek and Decoration Day, it seems to be things from your life that are kind of bubbling up in your memory, and you're putting them down to words.
Yep. There's definitely that theme. There's probably a lot of religious overtones in the songs that I write about, because I would say that probably musically my influence is, when you grow up in Tennessee, I grew up halfway between Memphis and Nashville, and so those are very musical cities.
Sure.
So it's hard not to have some musical influences there, but most of my musical influence came from church, and so I really like old gospel tunes, the really old ones.
Yes.
And so I take some, I try to use that for some influence or inspiration. I'll say that during the pandemic, still now, I mostly work from home. And one thing that I miss most about going to the office is it took me about 30 minutes to get into work, and I used that 30 minutes in and 30 minutes home for songwriting.
Really?
Yeah, I turned the radio off and just sat there in complete silence, and you just kind of work through things. You can come up with melodies and I don't like the way that sounds. And so I kind of miss having that time.
Really? Because I used that 30 minutes when I used to commute into RTP. I used that 30 minutes to contemplate axe murdering the other drivers on the road. So we're different that way.
Yeah, that to me was there's several songs that were written,
nice,
back and forth to work.
That's actually a much more productive use of that time.
Yeah.
Nick, I think I saw that the band Freddie Midland played at Southern Green. Is that what it's called?
Southern Village, the Village Green.
Village Green at Southern Village. What a great place, eh?
It was a great place, and we had such a great gig. It was, I'd say, a couple hundred people there, and
wow,
people
that's a great
dancing.
Turnout.
Yeah,
dancing, and there's just a ton of energy. It was fun.
Is that a really great feeling? People dancing to your music. I've heard musicians describe it as feeling like a puppet master. That they play faster and the dancers dance faster. They play slower and the dancers dance slower.
I'll say that I feel bad when we're playing really an upbeat song and everybody's dancing and having fun, and I know that the next song on the set list is some slow, and I'm like, then they're gonna sit down.
So where can people see you play next?
We're gonna play sometime in September. I don't know. Matt Velke is sort of the keeper of the schedule, but we're playing at Craftboro Brewery, I think.
Okay. Well, and the dates as they're coming out and everything related to your new record your website would be the best place to go.
Yes.
Keep track of things.
Yes.
Good.
I need to update it, but
Don't we all? Yep.
We all need
Webmaster.
social media / webmasters.
Yeah. Or webmistress. Or just a mistress.
Yes,
I did
ma'am.
want to acknowledge a couple other people before I forget, because I've mentioned John and FJ and Joe Newberry, Julie Elkins. Joseph DeCosmo he's a local lives in Durham, fiddle player, and he's really just outstanding. He's an old-time fiddle player. I really wanted this, except for the one song that's done sort of bluegrassy, it really has more of an old-time feel.
Joseph DeCosmo?
DeCosmo, yeah.
I have not heard that name. That's good to know.
He's brilliant. He's also a really good clawhammer banjo player. So, but one of the key things for that, he's also a Tennessee native. So I sort of stalked him and convinced him to play on the record. He sounds wonderful. Shanna Tucker plays cello on a couple of songs, and oh my gosh, she just blew me away. She's so much fun. Alan Love on dobro. Bill Newton played harmonica on one of the songs, and he's so much fun. I mentioned Isabel, Susan, Matt, and Jim. So
Nice.
we're a credit student. They all sound really good.
But, that's one of we mentioned about this community being so wonderfully collaborative, and also just working with a local studio. It's almost like John and FJ have their own personal wrecking crew, and then as you're working with all the musicians you work with, everyone comes together, and the level of talent and focus on getting great music out is it's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. We are lucky living in this community.
Yeah, and they're all pros. They're so good.
Well, speaking of great music, we have time for some more great music. Everybody, our guest, Nick Hutson. And Nick, if you would be so kind.
Sure. This is a song I mentioned religious overtones. This is really inspired. This is a song called 22 Hours, and when I play it, I usually have to make sure that everybody knows this is not my story, because it's really sad, and so a lot of people get really upset thinking that I'm singing about my own experience, but it is based on the experience of my great-grandmother, and I won't give away too much, but this is really her story, or at least sort of the way I kind of envisioned that maybe it happened. On a cold November night, in the dim soft candlelight, we had a baby girl. We had a baby girl. She brightened up our world, that sweet little baby girl. We called her Mary Josephine. We called her Mary Josephine. They say the Lord will give, the Lord will take away. How he decides, it's not for me to know. It's not for me to say. I hope we'll all be together on that final Judgment Day. How he decides, it's not for me to know. It's not for me to say. For 22 hours, we held her heart next to ours, before Jesus took her away. Jesus took my baby away. Now she sleeps all alone, 'neath the tiny churchyard stone. My baby, Mary Josephine, my baby Mary Josephine. They say the Lord will give, the Lord will take away. How he decides, it's not for me to know. It's not for me to say. I hope we'll all be together on that final judgment day. How he decides, it's not for me to know. It's not for me to say. For 22 hours, we had a baby girl. We called her Mary Josephine. Her name was Mary Josephine.
Nick Hutson live here making everybody cry, including John Crawl, who said before you played that song, now I'm going to cry.
Stunning work on that one.
That was
song
fantastic.
On the CD, I told John beforehand, I said, I feel like the song should sound sort of orchestral, that it should sort of soar. And so he wrote a cello score for this, and it's impossible for me to even get close to doing anything that approximates what's on the CD, because that cello is so beautiful, and it blew me away.
I'm a big fan of a nice ethereal cello, just kind of wandering through the architecture there.
It kind of just blew me away, and I was thrilled when I heard it.
And by the way, John Crawl also says, because you asked before that song, where is Fair to Midland playing next? I can tell you.
John knows.
John knows all these things. It's going to be Saturday, September 10th at Craft Brew Brewing in Carborough.
Yeah.
So y'all get out to Craft Brew September 10th, Saturday. Catch Fair to Midland.
We played there once before, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
John, we've got just a couple more minutes. If you got a short song, we can listen to a song, or we can transition into your playlist. And I'm sorry I just called you John, because I was just reading John off of the screen.
I answer to anything. I want to do a real quick one. This is really, really quick. And this is I heard this is a song. It's really interesting. I heard this. We were watching a TV show, and this was sort of a background music, during the show. And I was like, "What is that? Who is that?" And it's this guy named Daniel Johnston, who I'd never heard of, but he was a troubled man. I think suffered from schizophrenia, but he was a visual artist and a musician, and he wrote some really just sort of wonderful lyrics that are they're sort of simple, childlike lyrics that I just think they're wonderful. And he has another song on this playlist that I give you, but
Nice.
This is one, and this is a message that I think many of us need to hear. It's called "Don't Be Scared." It's a quick song. There's a life worth living, and it's interesting. There's a calm that's real somewhere. There's a jungle stream and a band that's playing. There's a tune worth whistling to. Don't be scared. You can't see it if you don't believe it. It's not the kind of thing that you can see. It won't help you out if you forget. It's not the kind of thing you can remember. When must you give yourself a global rating? Numbers can mess up everything. Don't do that. There's a life worth living, and it's interesting. There's a calm that's real somewhere. There's a jungle stream and a band that's playing. There's a tune worth whistling to. Don't be scared. I really like that. Thank you.
Nick Hutson live here in the studio, and whistling the melody is few and far between here on Past the Hat, and I applaud you for doing it.
There's a tune worth whistling to.
I'm a fan of whistling myself. And we've reached the end of the live stream for Nick Hutson, and we're going to turn it over to our special guest radio host, Nick Hutson.
They're related?
I think they know each other. I'm pretty sure. And so, Nick, if you will wave goodbye at the live stream, and also at the same time confirm to me that the first song we're going to play off of your playlist is a Valerie June song, Summer's End.
June, who is also from the part of Tennessee that I'm from. That's why I picked her.
Fantastic. If you want to give a quick intro, you can do that, and we will play that.
Valerie June playing a cover of John Prine's Summer's End, which I love.